Good morning, children. Welcome back to our science class. Children, we have already covered chapter 11, Transportation in Plants and Animals. In today's video, we are going to have a quick recap of important topics. Now, transport in plants. In plants, there are two transport systems. One, the system is responsible for transporting water and minerals from root to all other parts. These vessels are known as xylem. Then there are another vessels which are responsible for transporting sugar and amino acids which are made in leaves to other parts of the plant. These are known as phloem vessels. So, water and minerals are transported from root to the stem and then to the leaves by means of vessels which are known as xylem. And the food which is being made in the leaves by the process of photosynthesis, that is transported to each and every part of the plant by means of another vessels known as phloem vessels. Now in this slide you can see that xylem vessels carry water and dissolved minerals from the root to the stem and then to the leaf, where it is being used in the process of photosynthesis. Here you can see that the food is being made by the leaf by the process of photosynthesis, and the food, that's the sugar which is being made by this process, is then transported by means of these vessels which are known as phloem. Now, you know that children, from the leaf surface there occur evaporation of water in the form of water vapor. This process is known as transpiration. So let's quickly define what is transpiration. The loss of water vapor from the leaves and other aerial parts of the plant. And this loss of water takes place by small openings which are present on the underside of the leaf, and these openings are known as stomata. Now let us see what is the importance of transpiration. Now this transpiration helps in absorption of water, and at the same time it also helps in upward movement of water and minerals from roots to leaves. That is, this transpiration creates a type of transpiration pull, which is pulling the water along with the minerals from the root to the other parts of the plant. And at the same time, this transpiration is responsible in maintaining the temperature of the plant. That is, it helps in keeping the plant cool in hot weather condition. Then transpiration also create a negative pressure gradient, and this negative pressure gradient is helpful in moving the water and mineral from the root to the stem. And why we are calling it as a negative pressure gradient? Because this process takes place against the gravity. Now this transpiration also supports photosynthesis. How does it support photosynthesis? Because this transpiration helps in maintaining the amount of CO2 and O2 in the atmosphere. Now let us quickly discuss about circulatory system in human beings. In human being, this circulatory system is very important because it is the transporting system, and it transports oxygen and nutrient to different parts of the body, and at the same time it also carry away waste products. Circulatory system also help in maintaining body temperature, and it increases blood flow so as to meet the requirement of the body. You know that we have a constant body temperature, and this body temperature is maintained by the circulatory system. And at the same time, the circulatory system also help in maintaining the immunity, that is by fighting off foreign substances, and it is being done by WBCs. Now let us see what are the parts of circulatory system. Circulatory system has following parts: organ, that is the heart, which is a pumping organ. Then we have blood vessels, the tube-like structure through which blood flows. And these blood vessels are three types: arteries, veins, and capillaries. Now coming to the blood. Blood is basically a connective tissue, and this blood contains dissolved substances and specialized cells. And in our body, about 5 liters of blood is present. Now, basically, there are four major components of blood. What is that? First is the liquid part, which is known as plasma. And then we have blood corpuscles or blood cells. There are three types: RBCs, WBCs, and platelets. Now, let us discuss about plasma. What is plasma? Plasma is the non-living yellowish liquid part of the blood, and it makes up more than half of blood volume. Coming to the functions of plasma. Plasma transport dissolved food and oxygen to the body cell. Plasma also transport enzymes, hormones, and at the same time it removes carbon dioxide and waste from the cell. Now let us quickly compare three types of blood corpuscles or blood cells: RBC, WBC, and blood platelets. When we talk about the shape, RBCs are circular in shape, WBCs are irregular in shape, and blood platelets are actually the fragments. They are very small and they are irregular in shape. RBCs contain a pigment called hemoglobin, which gives RBCs a red color. WBCs, as the name suggests, they are white in color because they do not have any respiratory pigment. They are colorless. Blood platelets, they are also colorless. Coming to the function of RBCs, RBC transport oxygen and carbon dioxide in different parts of the body, whereas WBCs are responsible for fighting against the germs and they help in maintaining the immunity of the body. Blood platelets, they are responsible in the process of blood clotting and thus they stop the bleeding from wounded areas. Other name for RBCs are erythrocyte. For WBCs, it is leukocytes, and for blood platelets, it is thrombocytes. Now, let us compare three blood vessels which we have in our body. They are arteries, veins, and capillaries. Arteries are thick-walled. Veins are thin-walled, and veins have walls. Now, these walls prevent the backflow of blood. Capillaries also have walls, but they are very thin, only one cell thick. Arteries carry pure blood. They carry blood from heart to other organs of the body. Whereas veins, they carry impure blood. They carry blood from different organs of the body to the heart. Whereas capillaries, they allow exchange of material between the blood and surrounding cells. Coming to the location, arteries are very deep into the skin, whereas veins, they are superficially placed on the skin, and capillaries, they are situated at the end, at the terminals of arteries and veins. Now, coming to the structure of heart. Heart is made up of a special type of muscle which is known as cardiac muscle. The function of this cardiac muscle is rhythmic contraction and expansion. Coming to the chambers of the heart, there are upper chambers called auricles and lower chambers called ventricles. Upper chambers 2 in number, other name atrium, lower chambers also 2 in number. Now coming to the right hand side, the right hand side of the heart carries a deoxygenated blood, whereas the left hand side carry the oxygenated blood. Now deoxygenated blood is then pumped to the lungs by means of pulmonary artery, whereas the left side of the heart takes the oxygenated blood which is brought into this right side into this left side by means of pulmonary veins, and this pure blood is then pumped into aorta, and aorta then carry it to the arteries, and arteries then carry it to the body parts. Now let us discuss the circulation of the blood in the heart. First of all, let's start with right auricle. Blue color here indicate the deoxygenated blood or impure blood, whereas the red color indicate the pure blood or the oxygenated blood. So, right auricle, that is the impure blood move from right auricle to right ventricle by means of tricuspid wall. From right ventricle, it is carried by means of pulmonary arteries. Now here children, remember that I told you arteries carry pure blood, but here we have two exceptions. One is pulmonary artery and one is pulmonary vein. Pulmonary artery carries impure blood and pulmonary veins carry pure blood. So from right auricle, the blood comes into the right ventricle. From right ventricle, the blood is connected by pulmonary arteries. Pulmonary arteries carry this blood to lungs, and in the lungs there occur the oxygenation of the blood, as a result of which now impure blood changes to pure blood. Now this pure blood is collected by means of pulmonary veins. Now as they are opposite in function, that means they carry pure blood. Now these pulmonary veins bring the blood to the left auricle. From the left auricle, the blood will come into the left ventricle. From the left ventricle, the blood will come into the aorta. From aorta, the blood will come into arteries. Arteries will carry it to the tissues of the body. Now, in the tissues, this oxygenated blood changes into deoxygenated blood. Now, that deoxygenated blood or impure blood is then connected by great veins, which are known as superior and inferior vena cava. These superior and inferior vena cava brings the impure blood back into the right auricle, and this cycle continues. Now, let us discuss about heartbeat and pulse. When talk about heart rate is the number of heartbeat per unit time. Now, what is this heartbeat as such? Now, heartbeat is the rhythmic contraction and relaxation of heart. Whereas when we talk about pulse, pulse is the rhythmic contraction and relaxation in aorta and its arteries. So I hope difference is clear. Heartbeat is the contraction and relaxation of heart, whereas pulse is the contraction and relaxation in aorta and its arteries. Now heartbeat is controlled by the nervous and endocrine system, whereas pulse is due to the flow of blood from the heart, and it is dependent on the rate of heartbeat. Now, when we talk about heartbeat, then this heartbeat consists of one systole, that is the contraction, and one diastole, that is the relaxation, and it takes about 0.8 seconds. Now, when we talk about pulse, it's a jerk of an artery, and it depends upon the rate of heartbeat. Now, let us see how what's the definition of heart rate again? The rate at which cardiac muscles contract and relaxes. Whereas pulse rate, the rate at which the arteries contract and relax in response to blood flow. So in case of heart rate, what is contracting? Actually the cardiac muscles of the heart. And in pulse rate, what is actually contracting? It's the arteries. How we measure the heart rate? By means of an ECG machine. How do we measure the pulse? By means of pulse meter. Now coming to the blood pressure. The blood pressure is the force that blood exists, or you can say the blood exert against a wall. That is blood pressure. And it is measured at the brachial artery with the help of an instrument known as sphygmomanometer. Now the two types of blood pressure. First is when the heart contracts, that is called systolic, and other is diastolic, when the heart relaxes. In case of an adult one, it is about 120 upon 75 millimeter of mercury. So if you have a heart, if you have blood pressure of 120 upon 80, that's the normal value. Any value above this is constitute hypertension or high blood pressure. Now the question arises how to control this heart hypertension. So there are ways by which we can control this hypertension. First is to reduce the salt intake. Then you need to have a proper regular physical activity, maintain a healthy weight, and do not smoke, and follow whatever the medical advice given, and eat fresh natural foods. So children, I hope the topic which we have covered today are clear to you, and we will meet in the next class. So till then children, goodbye.